So now what we are going to do next is to do a bit of data manipulation in R. All right, so I'll say data manipulation in R. All right, so we have that also here. So here, what we are basically going to do is to import and export data. All right, so in R, it's possible to read data, okay, from an external source. All right, so for this situation, we just want to read data from online. All right, and then also save it to an output. Okay, so what we are going to do is to look at this page here, one of my GitHub repos. Let's look at it here. So I have something like this here. I want us to look at it. Okay, so we have some data sets here. This malaria data set, which I've used a couple of times for machine learning tasks. I want us to read this data, or in other words, let's say import this data to R. So there's one GitHub, and I have the link. So if I want to import this CSV file, this data here, I need the down link to the file here. So when you come to raw, right click and then go to copy link address. Okay. Alternatively, you can click on raw, and when you click it, you'll be sent to another page. Okay, or you can also click to download, but you send to another page and you can copy this link that is being shown here, this one. So copy it and then place it in R. Okay, so that's what we are going to do next here. We are going to import the data. By this time, we are importing it from online. I can also import from a local machine, that's fine, but this is publicly available. So let's use that one. So let's go back to our studio and then let's import the data and then also export. You can import and also export. So let's start with the import. I'll just put that here. So I can say case data, and I'll say read.csv. Okay, and I'll put everything in quotes like this. Now paste, okay, like this. Okay. Now for those who are not comfortable with this approach, let's even make it simpler. I think it's better for everyone. I'll make it this way. Let's say data source, okay, equals, I'll bring it in double quotes. Please make sure it's like this and then paste your link so that they are what in the two double quotes or two single quotes. It's like this. Let me just make it smaller so that we see what I'm talking about. Let's make it smaller. And later change it back, that's fine. But I want us to see how this is. So it should be something like this. The data source, the link you copied should be in double quotes, like we have the first double quote, second double quote. There should be no space. Okay, there should be no space between the VIN and then the double quote. So that's what I want you to do. Now I'll enlarge the text again so that we are all okay. So I'll enlarge it back to 12. That's what I was using previously, right? So we have defined the data source, right? So that's what I want you to do. Then when we come here, I'm going to read the data or import. So I'll just say case data, and I'll say read.csv. I'll put the data source there because there's a variable, we have defined it here. So here it can even be the path to the file you have in your system, that's fine. So there's a simple approach. This is a CSV file, so we are just going to read it in this way. It's very, very simple. So let's run it. And now I have it done. It's still reading. Okay, so that is also done. Now I can export this data. Okay, I can export it as well. But for now, before we export, let's even do some quick exploration. Okay, you can do some exploration on it. So that's what I'm going to do. if it's a data, once you open it, you need to explore a bit. Okay, so we can say since it's a data frame, let's even do the class first. So class case data.frame. All right, that means rows and tables. So that means we can find a number of rows and number of columns. So I can say dim case data, and I'll get it here. So 220734 rows and columns. Right. I can also check the column names. I have it here, and then I see all the columns here, right? And see them here. So we see all of them here. Okay, so we are still exploring. Okay. Now this is a basic, or let me just say this is an intro. So a detailed video for data manipulation and exploring is in another tutorial. So just check the link, you'll find that. So this is just to get you started. So we can have the column names. Now let's say we are interested in a particular column. Let's say this one here. I think I will send this up a bit. Let's say we are interested in clinical diagnosis. We just want to go further. Right? We can just subset it. We can just say, let's say subsets. We can say case data. You bring your square brackets. Comma means all rows. And there's comma. And you can say clinical diagnosis. There are other ways to go about this, but let's keep it simple for now. Then let's run it. When you run it, you get all these there. Right? You can still open this using the spreadsheet software, by the way, and then see everything because it's a CSV file. Now we have all this. Let's just say you want just the values. Okay, you want to remove all duplicates. You can still use the same command. But this time you say unique, and then you place that command in it. Right, and that will give you just those main phenotypes. So you can have something like this. Okay, now let's export. Let's say you want to export this data, I mean the one you just imported. So you export, you can just say write.csv. Here it's case data. Then you give an output file. Let's say exported data.csv. You can add other options as well. That's fine. Okay. And then you can write it. Okay. You can write it. And then when you write it, it's saved on your file, on your system. Let me put it that way. So you now have to go and check your system and find out where that data has been stored. So it's stored. So in RStudio, you can come to this site, files. Okay, so when you come to files, so if this is where your working directory is, then you should see the exported file there. So for example, I see mine here. Okay, and it also tells me the dates, okay, that I modified, which is today. So I see that here and I can open it, okay, if I want to, but this should tell you that I have exported that file. Okay, so this is also one thing that you can also do with the RStudio. So you export, you can explore, you can check your files without you having to exit or quit RStudio. Okay, so that's something you can also do. So it's a very cool thing we are doing here.